Welcome to Gear Shift, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of vehicle ownership with your hosts, Christoph and Casper.
I hear it. Seriously, that noise is just...
I'm not sick of it.
So glorious.
I'm not sick of it.
You can't get sick of it.
No. But that's going to change. This is... welcome back to Gear Shift. This is a bonus episode. Bonus! We decided to give you guys just a little extra.
Just a corner of extra content.
Because as we discussed on episode 20, we're going to do a summer break.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of wanted to give you just a little extra. You know the difference? Did you know the difference between extraordinary and ordinary?
I do think I know what it is, but I think I'm gonna have to call. What's the answer?
It's that little extra.
It's that little extra. Facts.
Yeah. So we decided we have a bonus episode. This is going to be an episode about the entertainment business. So showbiz.
Litty.
There's no business like show business. Yeah. It won't be any of that.
No, fuck that. No jazz hands here.
No, definitely. Although I did just do it while saying it.
You did.
Thank God it's an audio show. But we have a very special guest, and we've kept it a secret from you this entire time.
And that doesn't mean we're not faithful. It just, we were holding it back so that it ejects better.
Yes.
You know?
But before we get into that, we got one... What am I even talking about anymore? We got one sponsor.
I don't know.
He's still around.
He is.
The Bearded Detailer, Center Valley, Pennsylvania. But he is your best choice for automotive detailing solutions. Go to thebeardeddetailer.com or call 570-205-0255. 7 callers ahead.
I do actually need some more ONR, so yeah.
I know. Yeah. I know you do.
I forgot to bring my bottle.
Yeah, so you're not getting it.
No. Just put it in my mouth and I'll hold it all the way home.
like a pelican. If you use the promo code GearShift, you'll get 20% off your order on the swag store. So,
damn.
Yeah. So we left the M5 in the intro, which congrats to whoever guessed that right.
You can't tell, but we're recording ahead.
I said we weren't going to do we weren't going to date this, but yes, we're recording this ahead of time. But yeah, so yeah.
No, kitty, it's a bad kitty.
Yeah, bad kitty. He's being a dildo. That's Bubbles.
Should I just let him the fuck out?
No, not yet.
Fuck you, Bubbles.
Yeah, fuck you, Bubbles. So we're not going to drag our feet around this. We're going to get right into it. And so we hope you enjoy the interview, and we'll talk to you after the interview. All right, everyone, we're here. We're here with a very, very special guest.
I'm here every week. What the fuck are you talking about?
Not you. We're here. There's going to be a different voice in the room. He's actually not in the room with us. That's Mr. Ross.
Real deep voice.
Real deep.
On the goddamn show today.
and that's Mr. Ross Patterson. Ross, how are you?
Boy, I'm right as rain, guys. I'm really feeling it tonight. I feel like I'm my best me. I feel like I'm my best self tonight. I really do.
All right.
Well, from what I hear, you're always your best self.
A lot of people tell me that. Every mirror I pass by, I also tell myself that. Where I'm like, God damn it, you handsome son of a bitch. Get your big, beautiful dick on me.
Did you purposely buy more mirrors for the house, or?
Oh, he lives in a mirror house.
I was gonna say it's got to be a fucking glass house.
Obviously. And I throw stones. No, thanks for having me, guys. Your show's fucking rad, man. I appreciate it.
We super appreciate that, man. I've been like, I'm totally fangirling over here,
dude. He's had to change his panties 3 times already.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
I've been
really,
I've been a big fan. Well, I'm not gonna lie and say like my entire life I've seen everything you've done, but
but when you did the new guy, that was my fucking.
No, I really Range 15 is what got me introduced to you and the whole crew, Drinking Bros.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, being that I was in the military as well too. I'm an Army veteran. So like when I saw the previews for you guys doing the funding for it, the funding campaign, that's what really triggered me into it. And then by the time I really caught on, you guys had already really got all the money, so I wasn't able to donate, which pisses me off. But anyway.
It's fine. Let me ask you this: since you were there from the get-go, because a lot of people stumble upon that movie and they're like, "Oh fuck, this movie's dope." They don't know the backstory. Was it as good that you hoped for from the Indiegogo campaign?
So here's my thing about expectations. When it comes to movies, I have a theory, and it's worked good for me for a long time. Is I never get my hopes up. I go in with super low expectations, because if I get super pumped and hype about something, I'm always disappointed. So right. I did have I'm not going to lie, I did have a level of excitement. I'm like, man, this looks really good. And I don't like zombie movies. I'm not a zombie guy. So
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
My wife's a big Walking Dead fan, and I cannot stand it. But
yeah, I'm not a Walking Dead guy either. But when they pitched it to me, I was like, all right, cool. It's military veterans. Like, you guys really want to do a fucking zombie movie? I was shocked. I was like, yeah, man, fuck. I've never done one. Actually, that's not true. I did one way back in the day called House of the Dead 2. It was a video game. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do.
Game. Yeah. So I starred in the sequel. It was the worst movie you will ever see. But I had the most amount of fun. So, like, you know, I got to see the makeup, right? And I was just an actor back then. Like, I didn't have my own production company and all that shit. But I got to see the makeup process. We had a lot of fucking fun on set, and we did some fucked up shit. One of my co-stars was Theo Rossi from Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, yes.
And, like, all my scenes with me, he played Juice on Sons of Anarchy. And we just met on that, and, like, the two of us were, like, instant bros. So, like, he was like, how shitty is this fucking movie? This is terrible. Like, this is a terrible movie. But it was Lionsgate, and we were getting paid, you know, a really good chunk of change. And it was like we were frat guys, like blasting sorority girls with, like, water guns and shit like that. And it was no lie. So it was Theo and I just spraying down girls' tits for it's just hours in a day. And I was like, you know, zombies are walking around and shit. I was like, this is the greatest job of my life.
Well, they say if you do what you love, you'll never work it.
Yeah, when those guys said, hey, you want to do a zombie movie? I was like, yeah, fuck it. Why not? Let's give it a go.
Give it a go. No, I was.
What did you think in the end?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I ordered it on iTunes as soon as it came out. A friend of mine who lives near me, who's been on the show, Ryan, him and his fiance came over. He was in the military. So the four of us watched it. I cried laughing. Like, it takes a lot for me to, like, lose my shit. Yeah, it was super good. I mean, I don't want this to sound like a dick sucking session here.
I mean, it really does, but that's okay. Just keep it going.
No, look, man, you know what's funny, man? Like, I'm fans of people, and, like, you guys had sent me a message through Instagram, and it's like, dude, I do the same shit with people. Like, it really is no different in this world. Like, you know, I had Duran Duran on the show the other night, and, like, I was a fan as a little kid, and, like, you know, I sent him a fucking email and got to do a show with him. And there's another guy, I'm a fan of his movies. Like, he's going to be on the show in a couple weeks, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's, you know, like, I'm amped that you guys enjoyed the movie, and I'm amped to be on your show talking about it with you. Like, the worst would be, like, if nobody likes your shit, nobody was calling you. Then that's a sad existence where you're like, oh. Well,
okay. I think that was a big realization for us when we started this podcast. Is like I pitched it to Casper, and I was like, hey, I really want to do a podcast. I was listening to Drinking Bros, Drinking Bros, Blackhearted, and then at that point you hadn't come out with your show yet. I think we started around the same time.
Ross Patterson Revolution?
Yeah, obviously you got our numbers, which is, you know, whatever. But
What the numbers for your show, your listeners, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got our listeners is what it was because we started around the same time. So, our demographic went to the Ross Patterson.
I mean,
Revolution.
obviously, there's no other fucking way to look at it. I mean,
but
I don't know. I'm not military, so I don't really know.
Well, the thing is we don't. This has never been pitched as a military show. It's been pitched as a car show.
No, and I didn't. By the way, I didn't know you guys were until you told me tonight. I was like, oh, all right, shit, cool. Because I listened to your show and it was all about ring, and I was like, shit, all right, cool. I had no idea you guys were military.
Well, I wasn't. Christoph was.
Yeah.
I can spell military though, so I mean,
Yeah, Casper is he's Polish off the boat, so
facts.
But
so he's got ice skates on.
And lots of potatoes.
Let me tell you. I can't shoot a gun, but I can throw a fucking potato like a fucking rocket.
Like a motherfucker. I can throw a potato like Oral Hirsch.
He can make a hell of a potato soup. No, so I have a slew of stuff. I mean, I'm sure I know you only have a little bit of time, but I probably go on all night. But I really what we do, in the show is usually with car people. We'll say like, what got you in the cars? So we're going to adapt this a little bit since it's an entertainment episode. And if you just want to give a quick pitch about like what got you into showbiz, what got you, what bit you, what got you started?
Yeah, it's funny. Like everybody's got their own little weird roundabout story of like why they ended up doing it. Mine personally was. My father was a radio DJ, and then he was a talk show host on TV for a little bit. So I kind of grew up around it. He was kind of a local celebrity. So he was kind of moving his way up through the markets, which if you're in TV as in broadcast journalism, that's what you try to do. Each city is kind of labeled with a different number as far as what the market is. So, right. You take small cities like fucking Duluth, Minnesota. That's going to be like number 300. You take big cities like Chicago, you're looking at a top 5 market. He worked his way up. I think Nashville was his highest. And Nashville was like a top 30, top 25 market at the time. And in that realm, in that world, when you're in a city like Nashville, you get to host all the concerts. Like, there's always the guy from the radio or TV who comes out and says, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so-and-so. I'm TK Patterson from, Nashville. And this is Bon Jovi. They introduce the crowd or whatever. They got T-shirt guns, all that shit. So I grew up around that, and I got to do that and see that through all the cities. I mean, I met Dolly Parton as a kid, and I had my first beer with the Allman Brothers at like 13 years old. And so I kind of grew up seeing that. And then he got his own talk show on, do you guys remember UPN before it switched?
Yes. Yeah, hell yeah.
CW bought it. So it was on like UPN, but it was like fucking local shit. I mean, it looked like it was shot in a warehouse, which it was. But he would have these weird guests on, and he would try to do weird things, and it was just like, oh, all right, cool. And I thought it was funny enough growing up. But I thought my path was different. So I started off in stand-up, and I started off at like 16 years old in stand-up, and I did pretty well in that. I was winning a bunch of open mic nights and all that shit. And then senior year, I ran for class president, and I ended up doing my gig was I did a lot of impressions in stand-up. And during this speech, we had to turn in a speech to run for president, and they had to proof it. The principals did. And I gave them a phony speech because I knew I was going to go up there and just go the fuck off. At that point, I'd already been doing stand-up for 2 years, and they didn't know, like the teachers and principals and shit. So I went up there, and I could do a pitch-perfect impression of my principal. And I closed with, I remember I did, I want to say 12 or 13 impressions in that. I mean, it was like a full 15-minute set running for class president. And I closed with Martin Luther King. I used to be Martin Luther King Jr. So I got to, needless to say, I got suspended for this. Like, it brought me and it's still legendary to this day. Well, oddly enough, the vice principal who I was doing an impression of, she was like, Ross, I'm not going to lie to you. You're very talented. She was like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, I was like, I'm going to be fucking sweet and famous. I want to be an awesome comedian. She was like, well, I think you should go into drama. I think you should go into acting and do fucking acting and all this shit. And I was like, I'd done plays as a kid, but I was, in high school it was kind of dorky. So it was like, I don't know. And she was like, well, I'd say either I'm going to suspend you for 2 weeks, or you can sign up for drama. It's your call. And I was
wow.
So my mom made me sign up for drama. I got into the play, and I was not to yank my own dick, but I was pretty popular in high school. Therefore, everybody came to the play. All the hottest girls were in the fucking play, and I got to make out with this girl on stage, and then everybody there was like, oh, shit. Yo, you're going to make out with the hottest girl. What the fuck what are we not doing in drama? And it was like, it turned into a teen movie where because I was the guy on the football team. It was like I was fucking Chris Klein in American Pie. And so suddenly everybody wanted to be in drama. I was, the guy on the football team and all that shit. That's what really got me, because the reviews of this play were really good. And I was like, oh, fuck. Maybe I could do this for a living, but I had to navigate how to do that. So I went to Ohio State. Their theater program wasn't very good. So I was like, all right, but I always studied Hollywood from the outside in. So I would study the box office numbers every weekend. I would see what movies were coming out, what the numbers were, what the trends were, what was hot at the time. And as I was going through Ohio State, I knew I needed better training. So I told my parents, I was like, look, I want to go to NYU for graduate to study theater. And they were like, that's fine. If you get your degree, we'll pay for this. But you got to get your degree and not quit and go to LA, because that was a thought at the time. And I was like, all right, cool. So I finished Ohio State, got into NYU, went to their theater program. And I think I was only there, I took a combined semester, 2 semesters into one. And all of the professors, and they brought in a bunch of casting directors and everybody, and they were like, man, you're really fucking great. I think you're ready for this. And at the time, teen movies were really hot. Teen movies were the fucking jam back then. So
about when was this?
This was about 2000, 2001.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so I knew if I could get to LA fast enough and just get an agent, an audition, I figured I could get in a teen movie, and that would be my way in. Kind of like my break into the industry. And that's what happened. In a roundabout way, I mean, I thought it was the shit, and so does everybody else who moves to Los Angeles. It's all a bunch of high school heroes who think they're fucking amazing, and then you get there and you realize, oh shit, I'm up against 2 million high school heroes.
Yeah, it's the whole you're a big fish in a little pond in high school, and then you go to the big pond, and now you're a little fish.
Yeah, well, it's weird, because I went to Ohio State, which is 65,000. So let me back up. I went to a high school called Chattahoochee High School in Atlanta, Georgia, and we had 3,200 students. And so in there, I was like, and it was one of the biggest schools in the state at the time. And in that school, I was the fucking dude. I was, the funniest dude and all that other shit. And I was like, fuck, dude, I'm the man, dog. And I was like, all right. How do I challenge this, and how do I stretch this? What's the biggest college in the nation? This is literally the only reason I went to Ohio State, by the way. I went to Ohio State University because it was the biggest school in the nation. They had 65,000 kids. And I was like, all right, awesome. If you can go there and you're still fucking hilarious to everybody, maybe you got a shot.
Yeah,
so go to Ohio State, same thing happens. I'm doing stand-up, going to school, it's fucking rad, and I'm crushing and stand-up. And I was like, dude, this is rad. Took their theater classes, everything I could possibly do there theater-wise. Did really great. And then, again, same conversation. All right, well, how do you be even better to test yourself? Go to NYU. What's better than NYU?
Right.
So I went to NYU, got the same feedback, and everybody was like, you're fucking rad. And I was like, man, I got a shot at this. Then I get to LA, and it all comes crashing down.
Yeah.
I send out, and I'm a hard fucking worker. Nobody's more gangster about work than I am. I will outwork anybody. But unfortunately, the entertainment industry in Hollywood does not work like that. So, I get there, and the first week I sent out about 300 headshots and resumes. Nothing. I get no phone calls, nothing back. Second week rolls around, same thing, nothing. So now I'm up to 600, and I'm like, motherfucker. And I don't have that much money.
Yeah.
And the headshots and all that shit are expensive. Third week rolls around and sent out 3 or more headshots. I get one call back from a commercial agent, and he's like, "Hey man, are you really 6'3"?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, well, you're too tall to do car commercials."
Oh man, jeez.
And that was it. So I was like, "Shit, man, I'm in LA for like a month at this point. I got nothing, no jobs, no leads, no nothing. I'm doing like my buddy was wanted to be a producer, so I was doing like gigs on music videos." And I ended up being like Macy Gray's personal assistant for her video.
Oh yeah, I heard that story on your podcast. That was a good episode.
Yeah, so like that was like my first like entertainment gig, and like even then I was like, all right, I can hang with these people, and I feel confident about this. And then after that, I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to get an agent because these teen movies are still crushing, and I got to get in this world. I ended up. I went to Staples Center, was just opening in Los Angeles. The Forum was closing down. Staples Center was opening. So I went there and got a gig because I knew all the agencies had private suites and boxes for all the games and all that shit. And I was like, dude, if I can get in there and just meet one of these agents and shit, I can get in. And the opening night of Staples Center, I had Ice Cube, the rapper. And this black girl who was a waitress, because I was a waiter during at the Skyboxes, she was like, who did you get? And I was like, I got Ice Cube. And she was like, dude, I have this, like, I think it's like a banker song. It's called ICM. And I was like, I knew that was like top 3 biggest agents in the fucking Hollywood. So she was like, do you want to switch? And I was like, yes. So I got in with them and they kept coming back. And this one agent was like, finally, one agent was like, dude, you're really fucking funny. He was like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm an actor. And he was like, oh, great. How fucking novel. And I was like, look, just give me 5 auditions. If I don't book 1 out of 5, you never have to talk to me again. And he was like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, no, that's it. And I was like, dude, I'll just be your fucking waiter. And I'm happy doing that. And he was like, all right, gave me his card, called him Monday morning. The second audition I had was for the new guy, and it was for a lead in the new guy. And I got it. And it was a fucking teen movie. And it was a huge, it was a pretty good box office success. And I mean, fuck, they play it every goddamn day ever since. And it changed my life. But I don't know what would have happened without that hustle and without all the other shit. Yeah. Because, that being said, when I got there, that role was the role that I did in that movie was originally black. So I got in that room and there was, 50 black guys in there. And I was like, whoa, I am the only white guy in there. And I had a really good read, and they switched it. So there was 2 boyfriend roles. There was one like supporting that was white, and there was one lead that was black, and they switched it. And so they let me be the lead, and then switched the black role to the supporting. Because the guy who plays my best friend in the movie was also black, and they were like, all right, cool, we can switch that and make it work, and that's what happened. So a lot of getting an audition and all that other shit is lucky, but there is some hard work to it where you're like, all right, cool. At the end of the day, you still need somebody to make that decision. So in a roundabout way, that's how kind of my entire career started. And then there's a second half that was like Range 15, all that stuff once I opened up my own production company. But that was my whole game plan and mindset, and that's kind of how it started. But I had a plan as a kid, and then was able to execute it. You go through wild ups and downs all throughout the
I can imagine.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, like, that takes a lot of fucking balls to just, be like, I've been succeeding so far. I'm just going to piece across the country and see what the fuck happens, man. I was going to say, I mean, I'm sure there was some times where you must have had a little doubt, but I guess the perseverance kind of overcame that.
A lot. There was a lot of times, man. I mean, even after that movie, like it's not all kaleidoscopes and kitten dicks. Cause I mean, you shoot these movies and a lot of people don't realize they don't come out for like 2 years. I was really conscious about it on Range 15 because everybody was so amped about that movie and they had put in money for the Indiegogo that by the time we finished shooting, from the shoot to when that movie came out in theaters was 8 months. And that's the fastest turnaround time I've ever heard of for a movie.
Well, your guys' recording, even your shooting time was, what was it? I actually, you could tell I did my homework a little bit. I watched the documentary preview you put up. What did they say?
Oh yeah.
Normally 3 days. 3 pages of shooting a day, and you guys are doing like what, 8?
Yeah, man. It was, when you have a budget, a smaller budget like that, you don't have a choice. You just don't have enough money.
Right.
You got to grind that shit out.
You don't have enough money, and you have to decide what you're going to do with your budget. So when you have a budget, and I can have more. You could have, probably 8 more shooting days if you wanted to, but you couldn't have any celebrities.
Right.
So then you look at it and you're like, all right, who's worth what and why? Would you rather shoot all day and fucking grind it out for a couple weeks and get a shit ton of celebrities? Or do you want to, just have like lower scale character actors that nobody knows, but have more shooting days? And, I told the guys this. I was like, look, this is the deal. And everybody was like, look, we want celebrities, and, we want to work with people that we'll probably never get to work with or see or meet again in our lives. So let's do that. And I was like, all right, great. I can do this. But just know you're going to have to keep up with an extremely high pace, and you're going to have to rehearse a lot. Because if any of you guys blow your lines and we miss our days, we're fucked, man. Yeah. We're going to be, $1 million over budget. And those guys were super prepared. And luckily it all turned out okay in the end. But as you'll see in the documentary that's coming out this fall, like, fuck, man, there was some really intense times.
Yeah, I have that written down. I wanted to plug that because for those listening, we're recording this in April. This is going to come out in June, beginning of June. So the Not a War Story is the Range 15 documentary, and that's going to premiere June 30th at the Samuel Goldwyn Theater at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Fuck, why can't they shorten that? That's a long name. They call it something else in Hollywood, but I'm not going to be like, oh no, it's called something different. It really is. You're just like, all right, sweet. But fucking theater. I'm looking forward to that. I watched the trailer that came out today that you had posted up. I'm super pumped to see that. I don't know if I'm more pumped to see that than the original movie.
It's funny. A lot of people had that feedback today where they were just like, yo, man, we didn't know you guys were doing this. We knew all along,
right.
Tim O'Donnell was the director of it, and we knew all along, but I'm directing Range 15, so like I didn't really have time to look at it or see it, and it's his own movie and it's a separate movie. But by all appearances, it looks like it turned out amazing. I just saw the trailer a couple days ago.
So you don't have any fingers in that at all, other than just being in it.
Yeah, no, I didn't edit it, I didn't direct it, I didn't produce it, nothing. Produce, but yes, but I was shooting Range 15, so I did an exit interview at the end about what the experience was like and all that stuff. But yeah, that's all Tim O'Donnell. He directed and edited that documentary. But it looks fucking incredible, man. And
that's going to I don't know how much you know about it. That's going to release on Amazon too? I thought I saw, or no? Yes.
So that'll be everywhere this fall or winter.
Awesome.
Amazon, cool. iTunes, all that shit. I think they're talking to Netflix and some other places right now too. So
cool.
So yeah, they wanted to go with Range 15 and the documentary at the same time. So hopefully both of them will end up on like next Netflix or HBO as well.
That'll be dope.
Yeah, I know they wanted to package them together.
So
it seems cool.
So you kind of answered. I had some other questions that you kind of you squeezed into your story, which was good.
It's like he's a mind reader or something.
I know. It's like you've done this before, but
like you have like 9 podcasts you do.
Yeah, seriously. And when you no joke, when you said that like you work a lot, you really do. Like when you start reading into when you start reading into like what you do or what you have done, and knowing like I obviously I listen to Drinking Bros, I listen to Ross Patterson Revolution, I listen to Blackhearted, and I know that you're helping Matt Best with his book at this point. Actually, are you done? Are you guys?
I'm actually leaving on Monday to go see him again for the end of that. Actually,
nice. So and you've written books. You've written the one book, right?
Yeah, Night She Cries While He Rides Steed.
It's actually, I hear that's the first ever romance novel for dudes.
Yeah. A lot of people have heard that. A lot of people have said it's the funniest book ever written in the history of mankind as well.
I heard Mark Twain actually
disagree with them.
Mark Twain predicted that this day would come.
Mark Twain cut off his own dick after he read it. And he's dead. So if that's any indication, like he went back, rejuiced himself with DNA, and then cut off his own dick, and then killed himself again.
There was another story with that I heard too, that JFK had received an early copy of it, and that was actually the second shooter, is him reading the book.
Yeah. But by the way, it's actually my favorite thing that I've ever done in my career. That book.
Awesome.
So, yeah. I don't know if you've read it, but it really is funny. It's the first time anyone has ever said there is no limits. But besides like my movies, my own movies, you know. But it's the first time writing wise where they're like, oh hey, like because it was Simon and Schuster, which is a huge publisher.
Yeah.
Penguin is doing the Matt Best book, which is fucking insanity as well. And it's like it was the first time a publisher was like, dude, you can be as crazy as you want. And I was like, what?
That's fucking awesome, man. No limits.
So if you read that, it is such a mind fuck where you're like, oh my God. It's, I mean, just blatant racism, like sexism, like to an nth level where like he's got like 6 kids. His wife is like in her, like about to turn 30. And he's just like, well, you're getting too old for me now. Probably going to have to get rid of you. He goes to China for 6 years and smokes opium and just fucks like thousands of prostitutes. And it goes into graphic detail about like there's nude pictures in the book, and they got banned from Walmart.
Nice.
Walmart and airports. And I'm surprised they did it because I didn't ask for that. They did it on their own, and I was like, oh, this is dope. I can't believe you guys are going to do this. And so it's as crazy down to the last sentence you could possibly imagine. Even the opening is fucking fake. Like the opening, the dedication, you know, everybody dedicates to like somebody serious, like their grandmother or something. I was like, I dedicated it to like a Hooters waitress, that I knocked up, and I was like, look, I'm definitely not going to be there for your son, but like, give him this book, and you know, and let's just call it Easies. You know, let's call it Easies. Well, we're good.
It's on my list of. A lot of people don't know that I'm actually illiterate and I can't read or write, so I have to get it on
Audible.
I know
you can get it on Audible.
That's next. It's up on my list of things to buy. It really is. So
I'll put it to this way. Here's how fucked up it is. On page 2, I talk about. I was like, dude. The guy talks about how rich he is in this book, and he's like, look, I'm really fucking rich. I've beat AIDS twice. You can only beat AIDS if you're super rich or you win the Olympics. And he's like, Magic Johnson and Greg Louganis, like, that's why they beat AIDS, because they won the Olympics and they're fucking rich. Like, and I literally can't believe they put that in there. I'm just like, wow.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah. It's one of those where you're like, fuck. Yeah.
So of all the things you have done between acting and producing and writing, and you've done a little directing as well too. What is your? I know you kind of said writing was the most fun you had, but if you had to pick just one, what would be the one that you'd say that's the road I'm going to go down?
It depends on the day. It really does. Like. Because a lot of people don't know, I've directed a lot more than is credited. I never really, to break this down to you from all of those jobs, I've never really, like, I didn't wake up and was like, oh man, I want to be a director. I wanted to be a director because it gave you the final power of the edits in the editing room. So when I opened up my own company, Street Justice Films, we've sold 4 or 5 TV shows, and I think Range 15 was like the 8th movie we've made out of there. At that point, I was hiring people who I'd worked with over the years who had wanted to be directors because that wasn't my dream. And I was giving them the credit even though I was directing the movies.
Okay.
But I was helping them, and I was trying to advance their career. I've always in the school of thought of like, the more people who make it, the better it is.
True.
Because it's the more, and a lot of people don't think like that, but the more successful all your friends are, the more apt they are to help you, and like you're always going to need help one way or another in this fucking life.
Yeah.
See, the more people you can help, the more people will remember, and they'll help you back. So like a lot of those earlier movies, I gave the credits to friends and shit like that because I was helping them hopefully advance their careers. Towards the end, I was like, I might as well just people just wanted me in the end. And I was like, all right, cool. And look, a lot of my friends blew up. So it was just like, great, good for you. Like, go on and do your shit. But directing isn't one of them. Like, I'm good at it and I'm good controlling everybody and all that shit. And I like the final power of the edit, but it's not my first love. Acting is, but it's very easy for me. So like when you show up, when I'm not producing something, because it was, the first part of my career, I started in like somewhere like 15 or 16 films before I got into producing my own movies. And when I was just doing that and I only had to focus on acting, like it was so easy that I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize how fucking easy this was. Like, I just got to show up every day, eat sweet food, and like, just be good at my job.
And people will bring the food to you.
Yeah, and I could go home and do like fucked up shit. But I love it when it was good. And by saying that, I mean when I got to improv, when I got input on things, because a lot of times as an actor you don't. It's just like, hey, dummy, why don't you show up and say the fucking line? And you're like, all right, sweet. Like, I'm going to fucking dance for you tonight. And that's what it is. And my final push out of like, all right, I'm no longer just going to be an actor was a movie called Accepted that I did. And I wasn't amped with the way I was treated versus everybody else. And I didn't get to improv and I didn't get to do what everybody else did. And I was like, fuck you guys. After that, I was going to open up my own company, which is what happened. So I kind of lost the thing, but there was some movies where it was really, really great. And when acting is really, really great, and you work with the right people and all that shit, that's a really massive high.
Yeah.
On the flip side, when you're directing your own self in a movie, I'm more concerned about angles, shots, time. So it's like, and I improv a lot. Like a lot of that Gene Vandenham shit in Range 15, like, fuck, I would, even though I wrote most of that goddamn script, 90% of what I said was improv. So that's what made the movie. But, when you're directing yourself, you're like, all right, cool. I don't even put actors on the other side of the camera. So I don't read with anybody. So It's just like, that scene at the car where I'm talking to Matt in the truck and I'm like, I go right before I kill this little kid zombie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a huge, 3-minute scene where I'm just like, the body of Christ, the Spirit, and the Holy Ghost. Like that, all that, that shit that's in there. It was just I just had a crew member hold up his fist. So, there was nobody acting in that. And, I knew the lines, so I said them to a fist, and I knew as a director what I wanted in the edit, but nobody was in that vehicle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
But it was because of time.
Right.
I already knew what I wanted. I knew the angle of it. And I've done so many movies acting wise that I was like, all right, let's just grind this out as fast as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that entire scene, and I want to say 3 takes of it, was maybe 6 or 8 minutes tops. And, all of that was improv, like that deep, inhale. Like all of that shit. And the fucked up thing is there's nobody there. Myself, there's nobody on the other side of that camera when I'm doing that entire scene and all of that sequence and running out in the forest and all that shit. There's no one there but me.
That's awesome.
The
really
way it's
cool.
edited, it looks like there is. But there isn't. There's nobody there.
Spoiler alert.
So I look at I don't. That's what making movies is. And you're going to see it in the documentary probably that this is what I was doing. But so, when you're directing yourself as an actor, you're like, all right, I'm kind of speeding it up and kind of churning through it. So I don't really get to enjoy it as much as I would if I was just acting in something. Then you look at the role of producer where it's like, all right, if I'm not making all the decisions and deciding on how to spend the money and what actors to get and what actors to hire and all that shit, then you feel lazy. I just feel lazy. And I'm like, man, we probably could have gotten a better actor if I just would have made the call or sat in with the casting director or whatever. So I have to produce this shit now.
Yeah.
Writing wise is the one time where you kind of feel free, where you're like, all right, cool. On a book, it's different because you're on a deadline. So like, you know, you take something like Matt's book that's coming out this fall, you sell it on a proposal. It's Penguin, who's, you know, next to Simon & Schuster. Those are the two biggest in the world. You're on a deadline where it's like, all right, you get 60 days of turning your first draft. But, you know, you go back to A Night She Cries While He Rides His Steed. I wrote that purely on my own schedule and what I wanted to do. And it was just like, it didn't matter what my time limit was. It wasn't up against any time limit on that. And it was super fucking awesome and freeing. And the same thing with a lot of my scripts, where it's like, all right, you take Helen Keller versus Nightwolves, which is a crazy fucking movie.
It's a great movie.
I enjoyed the shit out of that, writing it, where it was like, all right, I can literally write whatever I want. And like, you're in a room staring at a computer, laughing maniacally. It's crazy. Like, how crazy could I possibly take this?
Holding a beer.
Yeah, so there's certain elements of all of these jobs and these different hats that you wear that you're like, man, they're really great when they're great, but at the end of the day, most of them are still work, except for the acting thing. Like, it's, you know, you're on set as an actor. If you're just acting in something without producing or writing it or directing it, you're on set for a lot of hours and you have a lot of downtime. It means you can do a lot of shit, but like, it's pretty cake. Like, you know, there's worse things in the goddamn world than that. So, gun to my head, I would have to say, if I got to improv in everything that I did, it would be acting.
Cool, man.
Another gun to my head, writing would be second. Producing and directing, you lose years off your life, sleep, all of it.
Well, it's a bigger picture thing. You're like you said, you're controlling more things. There's more involved. So it
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and you know, as a producer and as a director, you're dealing with like 100 crew members and actors and schedules, and same with producing. Then you got to pay them. You got to worry about injuries, and you know, when it's your own production company, you always get sued a couple times afterwards for weird shit where it's just like, you know, workers' comp or somebody's making up an injury or some fucking weird thing where you're just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And you can expect it. Like, people file for unemployment after working on your, you know, that's on your movie for 3 days. You're just like, come on, bro. I gotta pay taxes on that shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, things like that where, you know, also like props destroyed and things like that. I've had a lot of that where prop houses will be like, hey man, like in Helen Keller versus Nightwolves, there was an all-out fucking war against these wolves. I turned these wolves in after the shoot was over, and somebody took a razor blade to him and cut him up. And they said I owed him $18,000 for these wolves. And I was like, but because they know every movie, they think you have a giant budget, and they're like, well, you have insurance. Every movie has to be insured. They were like, dude, just file the insurance, and the insurance will pay for it. And I was like, no, motherfucker, like my premium, I still have to pay a premium on that. Like it's $8,000. Like, no, like you cut this shit up and like, I mean, you go back and forth and it gets nasty how I'm producing shit.
Well, for those who haven't seen,
you have all the power.
No, go ahead.
No, you have all the power in the end. So that's the plus side of it. But you live with a lot of fucking nightmares doing it.
And for those who haven't watched Helen Keller versus Nightwolves, I do recommend it. And what he's talking about, they weren't real wolves that got sliced up. I want to make that clear.
No, they were not.
Before we get some kind of animal protection agency.
During shooting that movie, not one live wolf was on set.
Well, we're gonna make a quick transition here. It is a car show, so we gotta bring up the elephant in the room.
We got to at least ask you, man.
Sure.
So are you any sort of car guy?
You know, I am a Bronco guy.
I know.
Yes.
Ford Broncos.
Let me guess, in white.
And I've owned 3 of them, and I'm talking like recently. I owned a red one. I owned the OJ Bronco. Here's how big of a Bronco fan I was. I had a Bronco on each coast because I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. I split time in LA doing movie shit and all this other stuff. And so I had a red Bronco at my house. My wife hates this so much. I had a red Bronco at my house in Wilmington, North Carolina, and then in LA, I kept the OJ Bronco.
Yeah,
I would drive up and down the 405.
That is fucking fantastic.
But how many are out there though?
O.J. Simpson in the back seat So, like, when I would pull up to valet and shit, because you have to valet everywhere in L.A., it was O.J. Simpson's head looking out to the back window at the valet. So, like, everywhere I pulled up in L.A., everybody always wanted to take a picture of the fucking Bronco.
That's fucking great.
It was really funny. And that was, like, before the series came out. That Bronco ended up getting stolen, by the way, which is even more comical.
Wasn't involved in a police chase, right?
But yeah, I've had like 3 of them, and I love I don't know what it is, man. I love those cars. They're super comfortable and like huge. They remind me of like those fuck cars where you're like you could take somebody out and just, man, I want to go fuck out in the woods. There's no better truck than a gigantic Bronco to just go fuck in the woods.
He's got a Bronco.
yeah. Like if I don't have a daughter, but like if I have another child and I have a daughter and some dude shows up in a Bronco, I'm like, there's no fucking way you're getting that.
He's got a Prius? We're good.
Woods.
What are your intentions with my daughter? Well, sir,
Yeah, exactly.
I have a Bronco. Get the fuck out.
I know. Get the fuck out of here. I'd go Al Collins on. You know who I am. God damn it.
Well, that's a good tip because I have 2 daughters, and now I know if a Bronco shows up, guns are coming out. It's just what's happening.
You want them. You know what? It's funny. You want them in a really, really tiny car. Like if somebody shows up in a Mazda Miata, like a Mini Cooper. There's no movement whatsoever, so their legs can't get up. You can't maneuver. You can't do shit.
A smart car too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Smart car, like third base tops, and that's going to be difficult because it's just so small, so uncomfortable. Like the dude's going to cramp up easily. Like up in a tiny car, you're good.
We actually
they show up in a Yukon. You're fucked.
Get him the fuck out of here.
We one of the episodes we did a good consumer fact that if your relationship is prone to domestic violence, that a smart car is what you should own because there's no room. So
true. It's totally true. There's no room to wind up from the base.
Yeah.
Bring the backhand.
And most people don't know the backhand. It's all about the wind up.
It really is. You got to get some steam behind it. You got to get some juice, pun intended, behind that fucking hammer.
Which is I find funny because if my memory serves me right, at the which premiere for Range 15 did Jared wear the signed OJ jersey?
Oh, that was Helen Keller versus Nightwolves.
Oh, that was okay. I thought that was Range 15.
No. I'm sorry. For that one, they dressed up like 18th century Englishmen. Including they put like white powder on, like wig. They wear the white wigs, the white powder on their faces, the whole shit. The signed OJ Simpson jersey that I now own is Range 15. That was a Range 15 premiere.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I by the way, so I don't know if how often you listen to Drinking Bros. I got fucking housed one night, and I was searching the signed OJ jersey on eBay. And, on your email, it says, hey, you still thinking about buying that signed O.J. Simpson jersey? So I'd gotten home at like 3:30 in the morning from wherever this bar is, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I am fucking. So I bought it. I don't remember it. I go to sleep, and I had a flight to New York the next day to meet with Penguin and Matt on this book. We get to the hotel in New York. We check in. I check my email, and it says, congratulations. You've won the signed O.J. Simpson jersey. And I was like, oh, fuck.
What have I done?
Didn't even remember doing it the night before. But I want to say it was the best impulse buy I've ever had in my entire life.
And you called, you and Jesse, your wife, called his number, the last known working number on the show.
We did, yeah. Yeah, we called, and I still have it. I still have his number. An LAPD, somebody from the LAPD gave me that number, OJ's last working number, and I heard he still keeps the answering machine going for when he gets out of jail because he's fucking broke. Like he wants jobs and money and like agents and all that shit. And like I will say this, and this is really fucked up. I'm glad you brought this up, but like maybe 2 or 3 days ago, they said he's probably going to get out in October for good behavior on this last charge. And the rumor is there's like 4 networks lined up to do a reality show with him.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Dead serious.
Wow,
serious.
man.
And it's going to take off, too.
I'd watch it. I'm on the show. I'd love to have him on my show.
Oh, absolutely. Jeez. Well, we've reached that point where I know we're running out a little bit of time here. Typically, we usually end our show with we do our co-driver of the week, where we ask our listeners to nominate someone who has been influential and supportive of them in anything,
life endeavors, yeah.
Yeah, but mostly car related. So we're going to kind of turn this over to you. Is there any one person that you would want to nominate as your co-driver, someone who's been either always supported you or has inspired you to do what you do?
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate to go back to O.J. Simpson, but it's O.J.
I can't.
Could you imagine? Yeah, man, I've always looked up to O.J. Simpson. I still believe in his innocence. So I'm gonna have to say O.J. Simpson. Oh. No, my co-driver of the week, I would have to say, is probably my mom. Through all of this shit, as wild as it is, and let's face it, like we've done some wild shit. I mean, if you look at that 100th episode of Drinking Bros,
God,
two strangers fuck live on the air. You don't get any wilder than that, and then Helen Keller versus Night Wolves, and then fuck it. If you read At Night She Cries While He Rides, because she read that, you will alter your mind. How many? I want to say he fucks more than 200 people in that book. When you're just like, oh my god, and it keeps getting worse and worse. He fucks this guy's wife in front of him, in front of the husband. So it's like. She's been through all of this and be like, you're a genius and like I love all your work, and it's like, really? You really still think that? Like,
the fuck is wrong with you?
Like, I'm really pressing it in all facets here. If you really still think that, then yeah, so I would say my mom is the co-driver of the week. Awesome. Even like my dad was like, hey man, you took shit too far.
That's awesome.
He's like, yo man, I could have for real. Like where he was like, yo, I can't get down. And he was like, you took it too far, dude.
That's awesome. That's cool. And I know since it's a car show, usually a lot of people will say their dad, because I think that's kind of a car guy thing.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. It is, but like, because I will say this, we didn't have all that much money growing up, so like, we didn't have that dope of cars. Like, I can remember my parents having a Pinto.
I actually saw a Pinto wagon today on the road. Today, I swear. At a hole that you could fit the whole Broncos in, I swear.
Yeah, so like the Pinto, and like I always wanted. That's probably why like I have this fascination for Broncos. Like I always wanted like an old school Bronco, like growing up, but like we couldn't afford shit like that, so like, I didn't have it. And then as I got older, like, I got to do the cars and shit. Like, I always wanted a Wrangler, like a pimped out Wrangler and all that shit. And so, like, as I got older and you're able to do that stuff for yourself, like, so growing up, we didn't have the greatest of cars. So my co-driver is my mom for sure. Where
that's
it's
awesome,
like,
man.
All right, rad.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Shout out Ross's
my
mom.
Dad's great. I'm not gonna shit.
No, fuck your dad. Seriously.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, he said I've taken it too far sometimes, where my mom never has.
That blows my mind because, like, I know my mom listens to this show, and there's times like I want to say something. I'm like, no, Peggy's listening. I can't say that.
You got to let it go. I mean, because I was debating. Talking about that, there's an episode out of Ross Patterson Revolution right now called I Smoke Weed with Cypress Hill. And I was like, man, you have to mentally get past that at some point, or you can't continue on with your topics. But I will say this, I think my mom stopped listening to my show. I think she stopped, after the 100th episode of Drinking Bros, I think she was like, yo, I'm done. Like, I'm not, this is fucked up.
Yeah, 100 would break somebody if they're on the fence. I really do. I was in for the long haul at that point. I'll admit, I didn't catch on to Drinking Bros from the very beginning, and I kind of wish I did, but I tuned in around like episode 50, and I then made it my goal to go back to the very beginning and listen. I listened from 1 all the way through. Which
get the fuck out of here.
Which sucked because new ones were coming out, so I was doing the whole. I'd listen to 2 or 3, and then I'd have to jump ahead like a year, listen to the new one, go back. I mean, I've replaced listening to music to listening to podcasts. I own my own business detailing cars, so instead of listening to music, I'll throw on the headphones, just listen to podcasts. So,
well, it's easier, and it's weird. Like, I wasn't a big podcast guy either. My wife is, and we started doing our own, and then I started listening to others because it was like, all right, on long drives and things like that, or working or whatever, it eats up a lot of time, which is nice. Where music, there's still gaps in the middle, like, because I have Sirius XM, and I'm a diehard music fan. I know, everything that's new, and I can't wait for new music to come out, but I still, like, if I'm doing something for more than an hour, it's like, all right, just throw on a podcast, and it's relaxing, and you can, learn about somebody's life or better yourself. And
well,
so
it's
I really
engaging.
enjoy them now, but I still get down on music. Like,
it's more engaging to me, at least. And they just learning things. Like, I love listening to Blackhearted, all the business information that they put out, which is awesome. And it gives me a shit ton of motivation to keep doing what I'm doing as a business owner. And
that's great.
But yeah, it's a lot of the motivation, not the motivation, engagement.
Yeah.
Music doesn't really engage. I mean, I love music. But when I want to be engaged, I usually don't throw on music.
Yeah, it's almost like an interaction, more so than anything. Because you could be as engaged as you want in music, and there will be times where you're listening to music. When we went down to to Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, it's like you're listening to the music and everything. But honestly, that whole ride down, I look more forward to the walkie-talkie conversations that we're having, because that makes the time go by quicker. You know, so I mean,
sure, you're right about that. And I will say this: like, my music, I write to music. It's impossible to write to a podcast because it's people just talking and listening to somebody else's conversation while you're writing. So I always write to music. So I'm always looking for the newest music because there isn't that much. But for long rides, work shit, where you're just like, oh man, it's all podcasts.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, who are your favorites
for podcasting?
Yeah.
I love listening to Joe Rogan. However, when the multiple hours things,
dude,
I know.
Saying, man. So here, I love Rogan. 3.5 hours. A podcast is too fucking long. Like, I want a beginning, middle, and end, like a story. I would say my 1 is Mark Maron.
Yes.
My 2 is Joe Rogan. And then, I like my shows, obviously. Like, I'm not gonna, but so those are my. I think those are my 1-2s where I'm like, all right, cool. I get down on those. So, like, I'll load up on those on long flights or car rides and all that shit. But
I'm
actually curious if everybody else is.
One thing that's awesome is, and I don't think we've ever talked about it on the show, but when I was a kid, I'm from northern PA, and my family was in New York City. So it was about a 4-hour drive to go, and obviously before CDs, before DVD players and cars and stuff like that, we would put on the radio and we would catch NPR, but there would be Car Talk, the Click and Clack the Tappet brothers. And it was Car Talk. It was a fantastic call-in show. These guys were 2 brothers that were mechanics, and you could call in with whatever problem you had, and they would answer it on air. And it was a really cool show, very engaging. Well, now they're starting. So the one brother died back in 2014, I think, and they're now taking all the old shows and they're uploading them onto podcasts. So now I'm getting to go back and re-listen to all these once a week. They upload 1 a week. So that's probably like my number 1 that I look forward to, because it reminds me of my childhood a little bit, with the family in the car. But and again, it's going to sound like I'm jerking someone off here, but Drinking Bros really is like the number 1 thing that I look forward to each week, or twice a week, just because, like, although I miss the old dynamic of everyone being drunk, and I know you guys have said that, but
yeah, I mean, fuck, dude, those guys are super fucking busy, and it's success brings a whole set of other fucking problems, and look, I can say it was not me on that one, because
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm on the East Coast, and it's easy for me because we used to do nights and get super fucked up. But like, as business and life takes over, it is what it is. I can tell you this: it's not me. Those were my favorites too.
Yeah. Well, I know. We're going to wrap this up. So I wanted to thank you again, Ross, for coming on. Do you want to plug kind of where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. My Facebook page is Ross Patterson. It's verified, motherfucker. And my Instagram is at stjames.
Yep.
My book that's out now is At Night She Cries While He Rides His Steed. That's available in bookstores everywhere. And Amazon.com is the fucking jam. Yeah, there it is. The old horse noise. Twitter is at stjames, and my dick is currently in my pants. So if you find me out in the street and want to give it a yank, feel free.
And Ross Patterson Revolution airs on what days?
Yes. Ross Patterson Revolution actually airs 3 nights a week now.
Oh, wow.
I'm going hard with Ross Patterson Revolution. So we're looking at Monday nights, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Cool.
We're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday on that. And then there's also video of it as well. And those are twice a week. And those are available on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, and all of that shit.
Awesome. And then Drinking Bros, they can also hear you on there. That's twice a week, right? Mondays and
Thursdays.
That's right.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I would be lying if I told you this was dull and boring, but I'm well spent, Casper.
Truth, yeah. Good times.
So we really appreciate you being on, man. And that's it. I appreciate it.
No, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Alrighty.
We're back.
We really hope you guys enjoyed that.
As much as we did, because that was fucking tits.
That was, man. Honestly, I hope it didn't come off as too much of.
No, you were. I mean,
I was fangirling.
You were filleting the Pinot,
man,
quite excessively. I mean, slobbering would be a good word. No, you were. It wasn't bad. It was
no, dude. I wanted.
Shout out to Ross for keeping it very casual and awesome with us. It was a good time.
Yes. Honestly, we talked before recording and after recording, and
awesome guy.
That's not just a personality he put on for the recording, man. He's a down to earth guy. We're really appreciative of him.
It's actually pronounced appreciative, you illiterate fuck.
What did I say?
Appreciative? Who the fuck says appreciative?
I said appreciative.
No, appreciative. No, appreciative. Just say shative. Anyway.
Don't tell me how to do my speaking. You're not my real dad. You're not my real dad. And I know that on Ross's show, the Ross Patterson Revolution, he usually introduces a revolutionary figure of the week when he does, or of the day when he does his show. Yeah. Since it's the revolution, I figured since we had him on, I would do a quick revolutionary figure of our own as a kind of a tribute. This one goes out to Ross. So our revolutionary figure to wrap up this bonus episode is.
That's such good timing. Yes.
Not Bubbles. Holy shit.
That has to stay in there. Please leave that in there. That's fantastic.
I will. I want to make sure I get. Okay. Our revolutionary figure is Philip H. Dale. D-I-E-H-L.
D-I-E-H-L? Deal.
Deal.
I would say deal. Deal.
He was from Dalsham, Germany. And he died in Elizabeth, New Jersey at the ripe old age of 66. He was a German-American mechanical engineer and inventor who held several U.S. patents, including electric incandescent lamps, electric motors for sewing machines, and other uses, and the ceiling fan. I bring him up because, well, I'm a big fan.
You're a fucking idiot.
And if it wasn't for Philip...
I'm like, where the fuck is he going with this
And if
shit?
it wasn't for Philip Deal, no one would know what the fuck I mean when I say I'm a big fan.
Facts.
So, thank you, Ross, for being on. Appreciate it. Check out his stuff, guys. At the end of this month, June 30th, like I mentioned, Not a War Story is a Range 15 documentary. If you haven't seen Range 15, it's available on iTunes, pretty much anywhere where you can buy movies. That is a fantastic movie that Ross produced and acted in as well, too. But Not a War Story is a documentary about the making of that movie, and it's going to premiere in Hollywood. So if you're out that way, go buy tickets on June 30th. And like Ross said in the interview, by the end of the year, fall, winter time, it will be available everywhere else. So. That's it. We're not gonna do anything. Well, we already did the co-driver with Ross.
We done did it, boy.
Yeah, we had nothing else. So we are going to be back. We will stay tuned to our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll release when we don't know when we're going to come back from our summer break, but we need one. We've worked hard. We've earned it. We're good people. We deserve a break.
We need nice things. And summer breaks are nice things.
Summer breaks aren't. We're going to pull teacher's hours on this one.
Facts.
That's what we're going to do. So
that's right.
Well, it comes down to Chloe's got softball, and she's got a ton of games on the weekends, and there's no way that we'd have to alter our schedules pretty bad. And this night stuff is not cutting it. So, so keep an eye on our social media. We'll let you know when we're going to be back. And for season 1 of Gear Shift, I've been Christoph.
I have usually been Casper.
And we appreciate all of your support and listening. And until next time, we'll see you on the road. Gear Shift Podcast is a production of Gear Shift. If you have any questions, please email us at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook.